Good evening, everybody. Welcome to A Response and a Call, Navigating Black Joy. My name is Melissa Craig, and I am a ensemble member and a member of the team at the Justice Dance Performance Project, which you probably know, which is why you're here. See all of the wonderful goodness that we have in store for you tonight. Response and a Call is a series that's very near and dear to my heart and has been a project of ours since 2020, since the killing of George Floyd, as a way to just have conversations, to create art and create some, to create momentum around change for things that we see that are happening in the world, and using our art as an opportunity to respond and to share a little bit of ourselves with you as artists of color. I've been joined with amazing guests over the years, and today is no different. I mean, you saw all the bio slides, I hope. It's extensive what my guest has accomplished in his career as a visual artist and an amazing Hartford star, let's call it. Well, Connecticut or United States, wherever. We don't want to minimize it just to Hartford because he gets around quite a bit. But as you see in my guest today is Andre Rochester. And thanks for being here, Andre. I know we're going to...
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know we're going to have a really great conversation. And you know, if you've watched Response and a Call before, you know that it's usually, it's always a mixture and a beautiful palette of faces and images and movement and words. Today we actually get to look at some actual palettes of art and some beautiful paintings by Andre. And we're going to talk about Black joy, about how to get there, how to find the spaces and the ways in between. And I think that our perspectives together will paint a really great picture for our audience in terms of how we can use our voices and use our experience to help others to find that space, and to also just to kind of keep finding it for ourselves, right? That's one lesson that I'm learning as well. So welcome in.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate doing this today. It's timely. It's timely talking about navigating Black joy, and as I'm on kind of this journey of my own, trying to figure out what Black joy is for me, right? What are the things that make me happy? What are the things that make me come alive? What is it that I am actually called to do? Which I think I figured that part out.
Okay, good. I would agree.
Walking in my purpose and really just being unapologetic about it, being unrelenting about that. In doing so, I find my path to joy. And I'm just on this journey, just traveling and seeing what it is and experiencing it and living in it. And just in the moment, you know? I have a lot of goals in mind, a lot of plans for the future, but I'm here for the ride. I'm not so worried about the destination at this point, because I feel like since the path has opened up for me, there's nothing but good ahead of me. And that's all I'm looking forward to.
Well, it definitely exploded onto the scene here too as an arts leader. But I think I love this quote from your bio, and there's only thing I'm going to read from the bio because I want to just share a little bit of it. It really resonated with me. His art is a tool for healing and a catalyst for connection, letting people know that they are not alone. It's a combination of portraiture and conceptual works linked by narratives of his own experiences. Do you write your own bio?
I did write
all right. Cause
I change it every 6 months or so, because sometimes I don't think it be sounding right.
Well, you know what? I think though that those are words that really resonate fully, right? We're going to take a look at one of the first pieces we're going to look at of yours today is called Arise. Yeah. And, that quote from your bio to me is a lot of it. This embodies that. I mean, they probably all do, but I'm glad that I read that quote before we take a look at this. And I want us to be able to talk a little bit about the paintings,
Sure.
Intertwine that a little bit with some storytelling, and also talk a little bit about how art can help us to reflect what's happening in the world and respond to it as well. So our audience is in for a very packed night, but let's start with Arise.
So Arise is a part of a series that I worked on for about 7 years,
Oh.
and it is personal narrative. It belongs to a a specific grouping of work, a specific body of work that I had in addition to other pieces that I was working on. But there were experiences that I had during that time that really kind of they really shaped who I am now.
Mm.
And Arise is at that point in the journey when you've gotten over a lot of obstacles. And now you have to be determined to keep yourself above those things that you've risen beyond, right? So Arise is about lifting yourself up and keeping yourself there. In this piece, you see an image of a male figure who is, he's muscular and, the physique is obvious, but he's not flexing. He's holding himself up. He's using all of his strength, all of his might to keep himself above it all. That red in the muscles that you see is passion. It's drive. It's his motivation to keep himself above it all. That turquoise in the background represents peace. He's risen above all his obstacles and he's gotten to a place of peace in his life. And now he wants to do everything he possibly can to remain at peace and to sustain the changes that he's made in his life. And that white is the clean slate, a fresh start, doing something new. So you arise into something new. You found your peace, and now you have to do everything you can to remain at peace.
Awesome. And I like how you refer to the figure, and he has a narrative. You're describing him, but I hear you in there. Obviously, it's a personal journey and a reflection of yourself. Where did you get started with painting? How did you know that this was going to be something? Like, how do you get from little Andre to this?
Well, little Andre. That's right, 'cause there's a little Andre.
I know. Shout out to actual little Andre at home. And Shani.
So the original little Andre, OG Andre, got a sketchbook when he was like 7. And, from that point on, I was drawing little cartoon characters and making up things, doing the stuff that kids normally draw, right? And then something changed in middle school where the drawing got more serious. And now, mind you, throughout all this time, I was also going through some challenges at home with my mother being sick. She had MS. And painting later on became something that derived from what I used to do when I drew to get through that time. So I use, like I said in my bio, use art as a tool for healing. The drawing became the thing that I could use to get out emotion and to express myself. And so it went from doing little doodles and characters and all that stuff to drawing actual portraits of people whose pictures were in magazines. And then it went to setting up still lifes in my bedroom. And it became this thing where, like, now I got this thing that kind of keeps me at peace. And I have this thing that helps me get through this time that I'm going through. And, it's safe. It's building a talent, little did I know, until high school when folks started to really respond to my work. And, like, I just, I started to get involved in different programs. I had the opportunity to work on a couple murals with local artists. And then it came time for college. And so when I decided to go to college, I wanted to go for art. And I decided that this is the thing that I really want to do because it got me through so much and it became so meaningful to me. I didn't want to stop. It gave me a sense of place in this world. It gave me a sense of value and a sense of, having some kind of meaning at a time when I felt like maybe I shouldn't be here. And art was the thing that kept me here. So it's more than just something that I do. It's not just a talent. It's really a personal thing for me. And fast forward to the time that I painted Arise, I had some struggles as an adult. And again, art was that thing that got me through that time. And I used the painting as a way to illustrate the emotional journey. So some of the figures that you see in my work are female, some of them are male. Some have faces, most of them don't. And there's a reason for that. There's the anonymity in the subject, which allows you to put yourself in the
I was going to
piece,
ask
right?
about that.
It allows you to kind of imagine yourself as being the person going on that journey. So whatever's depicted, it's really more about the emotion. It's not necessarily about the person that you see. So I wanted to use the red and the rise on purpose because I wanted to show the emotion that he's feeling. What is he going through spiritually and emotionally and possibly mentally to keep himself in that peaceful place? Because on the outside, he may be calm. On the outside, he may seem like he's got it all together. But there's an internal struggle happening at the same time to keep himself at a point where he can look like that.
I'm curious about like your journey along the way, right? Young Andre to adult Andre. Were there teachers? Were there mentors? I'm sure there were, but some that stick out, and particularly like through the lens of a young Black man. You're going into this fine art field. Like, where do you find the confidence? Who are the people that are fanning your flame?
So early on, some of the people who influenced me: Chris Wright, Carlos Hernandez Chavez, and Victor Pacheco.
Oh, I know him too. And why? Like, what did they?
So Chris taught a graphic design program through Catholic Charities, and I was a part of this program. It was called BHI, Business Entrepreneurial Hands-On Technology, I think was the acronym. And we learned just like the basics of Photoshop, a little bit of Illustrator. We even did a little video too. Anyway, it was a thing that exposed me to something that was just different from what I was used to. And that ended up being the reason why I started school as a graphic designer. It didn't last long. I ended up switching to illustration, but because I had that experience as doing graphic design, it was an inspiration for me to be like, oh, okay, so you can't be a professional do this, and there's so many different paths, right?
Oh yeah.
Victor Pacheco gave me my first official paint lesson. That was through organization Youth Opportunities Hartford, which is now OPP.
Okay.
So I was involved in OPP before OPP was OPP.
Right.
And they actually just gave me an award.
I know, I saw that.
Alumni award.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And the first person I met in that organization, Shonda, she was there. And she's still very much involved in the organization. She has a position in leadership there. Then there's going even further, going into college, Deborah Dancy was my painting teacher in college. And I used to argue back and forth with her about being a painting major versus being in graphic design, which is what I was at the time. And, I had it in my mind that, maybe I shouldn't do painting because I'm probably not going to make money or whatever. And, I wasn't really tapped into that thing that says go paint. And one would imagine with the stuff that I do now, why I did not major in it, right? Well, my eyes weren't open yet.
Yeah.
Deborah saw something in me that I didn't see yet. And so I have to give her credit, because if I listened to her, I probably would be famous, like famous.
Oh, look, you're definitely on my top 10 in Hartford.
Well, thank you. I would have probably found myself in a museum by now with in a collection or something if I followed her advice early. But there's still time. I'm still breathing, so that's still on my goals. And then there's Coraline Deibler, who was my illustration professor at UConn, and she was just one of the coolest professors I ever had. She was just cool people. She was not what I would expect somebody in academia to be like. She was just different. And
Hmm.
our personalities meshed well. But she was also an inspiration to me because she got me out of being afraid to use color. Like I was doing black and white stuff outside of like my painting classes where I had to paint color and stuff. So it wasn't that I didn't know how to use it. It's just like for my own work and in certain projects, I wasn't making the connection. And she threatened to fail me if I didn't start. So instead of there was this one project where instead of using paint, I decided that I was going to do pastels. And so that's when I started to like get into doing work more in color because most of my stuff was just like charcoal drawings and everything. And basically what she was trying to tell me is like, dude, you're talented. You need to,
There's a whole
step it
world,
up a little bit.
colorful whole world.
Exactly.
Well, that's that's actually a good segue to our next painting, I think, because there's some great colors in it. Give them hope, right? Like, thank goodness that Carolyn is her name. That your teacher that told
Coraline.
Coraline. Thank goodness she told you to use some colors. 'Cause
Yeah.
look at us now, right? And I think also in the same conversation, just before we touch into the actual painting, it's just like I asked that question because you have moved into some areas too of becoming a teacher and being a role model in the community, which we'll talk some more about as well. And I think it's really important to acknowledge the people that helped us get there. Right. And then so that a lot of the ways that we choose to interact with the community in terms of leadership, teaching, I'm sure you can relate. It just allows us to reflect who poured into us so we could pour it back into the next people. So shout out to all of our old teachers.
Yes. And I have there's a pretty long list.
I know there's more.
I
But
could talk for
I'm
an hour.
on a
We
time
got-
schedule.
yeah, we got a time schedule.
So let's talk about Give Them Hope.
Yes, give them hope. So this is actually something I was inspired to do because I was doing more like social justice themed stuff at the time, and I was like, well, what are we saying to the youth? What are we saying about the youth? I have this piece that depicts a child with a target on his shirt, and there's like names of victims of police violence behind it. And it's asking the question, is this person going to be next in line, right? And I have to balance that with
Right.
something. So give them hope is like, well, this person, although there's clearly a situation going on in the United States where there is a target on the back of youth of color in certain certain environments, you have to give them the hope that it doesn't have to be the thing that defines their life.
Right.
So what you have depicted here is a baby holding this balloon. Pink is a color of hope.
Yeah.
It is not a color of gender in this particular piece.
Okay.
It's just a pink diaper because they're wrapped in hope.
Beautiful.
They're holding a yellow balloon. Yellow, a bright yellow, is also symbolic of hope. Kind of like the canary in the coal mine.
Right.
That green string holding the balloon is their life. So they're holding on to their life, which is floating on this hope balloon. It's a nice long life. When you look at the string, it's high above the child, and it's also wrapped around their wrists. That it being wrapped around their wrists is symbolic of them having control over their life
And their hope.
and their hope.
Mhm.
And so they're looking up at their bright future. And we bring that turquoise color back to represent peace.
Right. It's beautiful. I mean, to me, I also, when I heard the title, Give Them Hope, there's lots of different ways that you can depict that. And so a baby and a small child, I should say, is representative of the future and the gender. So even if there are plenty of people that have been lost in the fray, in the struggle, in this complex machine of our country, but there's hope.
Yeah.
And I thought about hoping that this child lives to see. and live and not saying that there's any. We know that there's a target on the back, but I'm an optimistic person anyway. So when I see give them hope, I'm thinking give them a chance to live. I hope this
Exactly.
child like grows and feels
Exactly.
all that they deserve to get. So it's a beautiful piece,
Thank you.
and you brought up your own body of work that was happening around the same time. You said, I
Kind of
think,
ended.
social.
Kind of ended. Yeah.
In terms of your social
the
justice
social
and-
justice stuff. I had moved into that after I finished the other personal narrative work because I just wasn't in that space anymore. I had gotten past those things, and so I had to find something else that I was passionate about that I would have something to say. And so the social justice work came from that and being moved by a lot of the stuff that I was seeing on social media, just in the media in general,
Right.
about what was happening, what quite frankly is still happening in this country. And so give them hope, in my eyes, is still a social justice piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I would still put that as a
Right.
part of that body of work.
Okay.
It just took a turn.
Mm-hmm.
You have that, and then there's another piece called Reach One, where a kid is it's the same kid. See, in that series, there's three in that series. It's Next in Line, Delusions of Equity, and then there's Reach One. Reach One ends the series, and we flipped it. So there's still a target, but the target is green now. The target is life, and he's holding a mirror. The target is in the mirror, and so in order to reach one, in order to save someone, or a child in particular, in order to do that, you have to see a little bit of yourself in that person. You make it personal, and that's how you connect with that person that you're gonna take out of that situation, or you're going to develop out of that situation that they're in. And unfortunately, you can't reach everybody, so there's some silhouettes behind that person, and that's representing the ones that you can't reach. But if you can reach one, you save many, because that one is going to be inspired to do the same thing that you did for them. But you have to see yourself in that person.
Sorry, I'm a little smiley because we were having a discussion before the show started about whether or not Andre is an activist. He doesn't think so. But like just that statement alone, just the fact that you know that a small little speck of hope or a small little bit of effort into one person can amplify out, like that, in my personal opinion, is a form of activism.
Thank you.
It's a way for your art to be mobilized into this other way of people seeing and feeling and seeing themselves. And the fact that you see a little of yourself in them, whether it's the subjects, whether it's people in your own life, it tells the much larger story of what you can do as a painter, as an artist, an activist. And I think I'm not going to make you say that you are one. He's an advocate for sure, arts advocate. We agreed on that.
Absolutely an arts advocate.
But like if we move on to the next piece, just so we can get through some of the pieces, and juxtaposing, like we're looking at the title of this today's show is called Navigating Black Joy. And I purposefully did not put the paintings in order of what we're going to talk about. They're in a little zigzag, so our conversation can look at all the different ways that we're going to have to overcome things together, separately, in our heads and our minds, holding hands, running, walking, whatever the ways are. And I think Delusions of Equity, I mean, I don't need to sit here with it for a minute. I need to sit with it for a minute, but maybe you could just start talking, because I've looked at it, and I'm a mother of a Black son, and I'm a teacher in high school. So I have just so many images in terms of children, and so I love the fact that we're able to look at this hopeful version and then have a little dose of reality here with Delusions of Equity. So please tell us a little bit about it.
So Delusions of Equity is not sugarcoating anything. It talks about the Department of Education and how it is not an equitable service.
That's what that is?
That's what the DOE is.
Oh, okay.
This is touching on the school to prison pipeline. So you have the child. This is actually the second piece in the Next in Line series.
Gotcha.
So you have the child who's blindfolded. I'll go through what this stuff means. So the target is having the target on you, meaning basically you are targeted to be one of those people that don't succeed, and you are set up for failure in a lot of different ways. Sometimes covert, sometimes outwardly. The white that he's wearing is his innocence. He doesn't know what's going on. He's too young to know that these things, these obstacles have been set in front of him, and now he has to work a little bit harder to get past them. He's blindfolded because again, he doesn't know. He doesn't know what fate folks are trying to set him up for. But he has the graduation cap. And so now we're talking about the education, right? He's in the robe that you wear when you graduate. And the person...
I have to speak up a little because of the
'Cause
fire
it's
truck
silent.
outside.
Right. The person in the background, well, actually more in the middle ground, that's obviously somebody who's in, the jumpsuit that you would wear in prison. Except it's not DOC on the back, it's DOE. Because that kid doesn't have the same quality education that would allow for him to have certain opportunities that would provide him with the knowledge and the exposure to more positive things in the community or in other communities for that matter that would make him think he could be anything other than what he sees on the street. And of course, there's the prison bars behind them that are, showing the American flag. They're painted like the American flag. And this is something that's as American as apple pie. It's not just black kids who are set up for failure. It's poor kids who are set up for failure. If you grow up in a rural area, then you understand what I'm talking about. Sometimes when you look at places that have low income, they have less resources. And usually what that boils down to is less tax money. Less tax money means less money goes into supporting the things that are needed in order for people to succeed or be set up for success. And it's not equitable. Sure, we have books in the inner city. We got books in the suburbs, but they are not the same books. We have kids who don't have access to internet in the inner city. We have kids who have every electronic device you can think of in the suburbs. They have access to education, but it is not the same education. The teachers have to deal with minimal resources.
Hence,
that's why they're buying their own supplies, right?
Hence delusions of equity.
So it's delusions of equity.
Yeah.
It is not a system that is set up for everyone to succeed. It's set up for some to succeed and for others to just get by.
Right.
And just getting by or just surviving is a very dangerous place to be in, because survival mode means you have to do anything and everything you possibly can in order to make it to the next day. And when you are given very limited options, you are going to select the one that is easily accessible and in front of you, because it's going to take less energy, it's going to take less resources that you don't have.
Alrighty. It's an unequal game that we're playing.
Very unequal.
And I see it. I thought that the DOE, I actually thought that the DOE was like either John Doe or it had to do with the title Delusions of Equity. So I'm glad you clarified.
Well, it's a play on the words.
Yes, I see. I'm enlightened. I'm enlightened. And I think, your work is so provocative and so timely. And we're in a space right now in the world where we're trying to wrap our heads around more and more police violence.
Yeah.
More and more black men, black and brown, just human beings in general suffering at the hands of police, at the hands of these, unequal and racist systems. Do you feel motivated to do your work around that kind of stuff? Or respond visually with your artwork to things like that? Well, you can even speak out obviously with words right now, but do you always feel compelled to respond as an artist? Or is your...
I think it's kind of our job.
Yeah.
It's kind of our job to respond to the things that are happening, right, in society. We tell the story of the world around us. It's our job as artists, whether we're doing dance, song, poetry, writing books, etc. We tell the story of what happened. And we respond to the things that hit us emotionally, the things that make us feel. And that's what drives us. Now, with Delusions of Equity, I'm a product of multiple school systems. We were talking about
Right.
how I went to different schools
Yes.
and stuff, and I moved around a little bit when I was young. So I've been exposed to different places and learned in different places and different environments. And in being involved with a group called Calling All Brothers, in the beginning, we actually went to classrooms and we did some workshops with kids in the inner city, in particular, 8th grade boys.
They need it.
Exactly. And so we went into some of these schools and we did these workshops, just kind of teach them about things like, simple stuff, time management, respect for one another, things like that. Some of the kids built relationships with some of the guys in the group, and they would open up to them and tell them some things. Some of these folks were already educators, so they kind of knew how to go about those discussions. And actually, quite a few of these guys still work in the schools. And in my experience with those workshops and with hearing the stories of some of the guys from, different schools that we went to, because we would adopt 5 schools. So there was a lot going on at once. Delusions of equity just seemed like it was a very appropriate thing to put out there, because it was clear that these kids are disadvantaged in these different school systems. And not everybody has the same chance, even within the same town. Now, going back to your question about, responding to things, like I said, it's my job to do so, but I also have to be mindful of how it makes me feel. So I ask myself the question, do I want to be angry all the time? Do I want to be upset all the time in order to make these pieces that are in response to these things that are, affecting many of us negatively? And the question is, no, I don't want to feel like that all the time. And so I made a conscious decision to no longer focus on the trauma and the struggle and the doom and gloom narrative of our people, because you can easily get carried away with that. And there's plenty of art out there. You don't need me to do it. There's a lot. I decided, what, let's inject some positivity in this. Let's show the other side of who we are, because this struggle that we deal with is not our identity. It's a part of our experience. I'm not defined by the struggle that got me here. That's not who I am. That's the experience I had that helped me develop who I am.
Right.
But there are other layers to this. And so let's explore what those other layers are. And so now my focus is on joy. Black joy in itself is a form of resistance.
It is.
By putting out these narratives, right? All these negative narratives about us and our trauma, if you do it too much, it sends a message. And that message to people who don't have that experience or don't understand that experience is that it's who we are. So what if I flip it and I say joy is who I am? What if I start telling more stories about the things I want to celebrate about who I am or who we are as a people and our experiences outside of the negative parts of our life here? I'm not saying that I won't do another piece ever that focuses on social justice. And even within my pieces focused on Black joy, there's still going to be some of that kind of sprinkled in there. I'm not going to leave it alone all the way. But my primary focus is defining it for myself and making a conscious effort to step in that direction. Because when you decide you want to go in a certain direction, you get there. You're going to go in the area that you focus on.
Yeah.
For me, it's happiness. I want to be happy. So let me go towards my happiness.
Yeah. The next piece is one that makes me happy. So this is a good segue. I think, first of all, the quote of the night is that Black joy is a form of resistance. Well, I don't know where the next shirt is coming out, but
I can't take credit for it. I saw it somewhere, so
it's okay.
And it just stuck with me.
Right, it was something for us to embody. Maybe not make T-shirts, but it's fine. We can always go to Andre Rochester's store and get one of his paintings on a shirt if we like that. But this next piece is called The Dancer, and it is near and dear to my heart because, we've been friends in person and on social media for a long time. And I recall when this painting was getting done, like from the sketch to the next layer and adding color and deciding and changing things and like really being able to be a part of your journey, with her. And the fact that she didn't have a face reminded me that it made me feel like it was me. And I was watching myself like kind of get painted. So can you tell us a little bit about this one? And keep in mind that we may not even get to all the pieces that I wanted to talk about. So I would like this. Yeah. So keep that in mind. And for our audience at home to keep in mind that we want to ask questions and be able to just, talk with you a little bit. So
the intent behind this piece was to close out that personal narrative story. I began to recognize, I've been kind of hanging on to this storyline for a long time. I'm not even feeling these things anymore. Like, I'm not doing this stuff anymore. I'm not going through this thing, right? So what am I doing, right? And so I needed to celebrate. I needed to provide some closure to that. So you have this orange background, which represents joy. She is surrounded by joy. This person is dancing because they're happy, they're triumphant, they've gotten through the things that they've gone through. That green dress is life. Green represents life. There's even hints of yellow in there. That's hope. That blue is, not everything's always going to be positive. There's dark and light in life, and you just got to go through it. You're gonna wear it, right?
literally.
The wrinkles are the ups and downs that you're going to go through. And this person, through it all, because they've gotten through so much and they've overcome so many different obstacles, they don't even care. They know that they're going to be all right. And so they're just dancing. They're dancing without a care in the world. And that's why it's just called The Dancer, because they found their happiness. And nothing is going to take that from them.
I love that. And also I love the fact that, like, even though I prefaced that with my own personal story about this painting and how I thought it was me and I am a dancer, I also recognize the fact that it could be anybody. And that's what I love about your work, is that level of commonality. Everybody can see a little bit of themselves. Maybe not everybody, but I know I can, and I think it's relatable by many. So that's The Dancer. It's beautiful. We thank you for it. I might need that pillow. It comes in a pillow.
It has a pillow, it has a mug,
Right.
It has a lot of things.
I think in the interest of time, I'd like to go to Girl Blowing Bubbles.
Okay.
Because we're on this joyful wave already. And you've articulated so well about the journey, right? And the specific choice to relish in the joyful things that a struggle can do, all the knowledge you can gain, the relationships that you build, and the self-confidence that comes along with overcoming some of these things.
Okay.
So let's talk about Girl Blowing Bubbles. And I think Robin will pull that up for us, and we'll squeeze in the one last conversation about a painting. And
So that joy comes back.
mm-hmm.
Now, this time, this is the first piece in the Black Joy series.
Ah.
So this one is that transition, and it's a big transition. I mean, like, physically big. It's big as hell. It's 9 feet wide and 4 feet tall. This piece is in a pediatrics office now at Cornell Scott Hill Health Center in New Haven. It started off as a challenge to see how big I can go with my canvas in my truck and see what can fit. So it was something where I was just kind of having fun at first, like, let me see what's the biggest canvas I can buy. And so 4 feet by 5 feet is as large as I can go. Otherwise, I'll damage it. So I did figure that out. And so I started this piece. I knew that I wanted to begin the Black Joy series. I knew what colors I wanted to use, and I had an idea of what the subject would be. Then I found out that I was on a short list for a project to acquire artwork from Connecticut-based artists to go into the collection at the Health Center.
Right.
I decided on the day that we had our orientation, this piece would be the main thing that I pitched to them. They didn't have to buy nothing else, but they were going to buy this piece. And the reason why I made that my intention is because we walked around one of the facilities and we walked into the pediatrics office, and there was this wall, this beautiful blue wall. And I just envisioned my work there. I knew it was going there, right? It matches orange and blue are complements. That's beautiful orange in the background of this piece. I'm even gonna put blue in the girl's clothing just to make sure that that we do it right. And so the piece was about a quarter of the way done. I put it into my pitch, and they ended up asking me to expand the piece by 4 feet. And so now there's two panels on the left and the right that are 2 feet wide and 4 feet tall, making the full piece 9 feet of actual painted space, but there's a foot in between, so it really takes up 11 feet of wall space. So when a child walks into this waiting room where this is, my hope is that they immediately forget that they are in the doctor's office and they start thinking about blowing bubbles. They start thinking about being at play and in a more joyful environment than where they currently are. I want them to totally forget about why they came to the doctor in the first place. Because most of the time, kids, one, they don't like being at the doctor, and two, they're there because they don't feel comfortable, they're sick, they're in pain, there's something wrong, right? There's nothing wrong in this picture.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And it's life size.
Right.
Bigger than them.
Right, bigger than them.
So,
I think too, like in terms of navigating Black joy, right? Like it's a word that we're using to describe maybe our own journeys, but this is an opportunity to help someone else navigate and to find ways to embody hope and power, even in a difficult situation.
Well, just like the personal narrative, and just wanting to let people know that they're not alone. I want to do the same thing with this journey of defining joy for myself. I'm not trying to be alone in this. I want people to be happy with me. Like, come with me. That's why this piece is larger than life. There's so much to be surrounded by, right?
Yes.
Just imagine yourself with that little girl blowing bubbles, just having fun. And I may not do large pieces like this often, but the idea is to create work where it looks as if you can be there too. So as I start to pursue happiness in all of my endeavors, my work is going to reflect that, and I want to create environments where that is what comes to mind. I want you to associate me with Black joy.
Well, I'm with you. Us with Black joy, people.
There
Us.
you go.
Right, because I think that it's actually harder sometimes to be joyful when there are so many different influences and things happening in our world that are holding us back, down, or whatever. But there are lots of opportunities for us to find the ways that are uplifting, and usually together is better.
Absolutely.
You get farther together than alone. So I kind of need to wrap it up. So I want to shift into the most joyful topic for me in terms of life, is being a parent, being a grandparent now myself. And I know that you're a new dad. And do you think that, I don't know, it's an obvious question, if that has helped your push towards wanting to embody more joy? Or was that already on its way before?
So
Dre?
it was already on its way,
Okay.
but now I got the push that I needed. Right? Now I have a child who is going to be influenced by the things that I'm doing. They're going to be observing the things that I do.
Right.
And they're going to know about the things that I'm feeling, because your children can feel things, right?
Shay?
And I am now responsible for ensuring that this kid knows that they too can have joy. Now I'm responsible for being the person that gives their child that yellow balloon.
Ooh. Wrap it around the wrist.
Exactly. I have to do that now. So this motivation is like 100 times more because I have a baby.
I see it like confirmation.
Got a son now. Like
the universe said yes.
Have to. Right.
The universe said yes to your joy.
Exactly. I said I'm going to go in the direction of happiness. And, last year was the happiest year of my life because I decided to pursue the things that give me a sense of purpose and a sense of joy. and it all worked out. Like it did exactly what it was supposed to do. And then to top that off, I find out that I have a son on the way under the circumstances that I wanted to have a child.
Which,
The key here was for me to be living the life that I want for myself, because it's very important that my child learns that they can live life on the terms they determine.
Mm.
Nobody is going to dictate to them how to lead their life. I'll be their guide, but I'm not going to tell him, you have to do X, Y, Z in order to be successful in life. That's not my job. My job is for him to tell me his dream and to do everything, come hell or high water, to ensure that that boy can accomplish his dream. That's my job.
hey, I see the sky as the limit. And there's so many awesome blues and yellows and throughout your themes. So, I mean, I wish we had more time to talk.
Yeah, like I said,
Like, I think
could
probably the
use
audience,
hours.
the audience might have some questions for us. So we're gonna
Yeah. Let's talk.
let's see if there's any questions out there in the talkback area.
Sure, we can transition into our talk back.
Okay.
Hopefully everybody on Zoom can hear me okay. You have two options, or a couple options really. You can use the raise hand feature, which will give me the ability to invite you to unmute so you can ask your question out loud. You can also use the Q&A feature along the bottom of your screen. You can type in your question and I'll read it out loud to Melissa and Andre here. And while you're thinking of your questions, we just wanted to take a moment to thank our funders, including supporters like you. We've got a list here on the screen. And if you feel compelled yourself to give to support this series, you can scan that QR code or visit the same page where you registered to make a gift through our Classy platform. And at the end of this, you'll also receive an audience survey. You can scan it here now, but you'll get this in your email in your inbox after the presentation concludes. And I'm going to bring us back to this Q&A slide to review the directions.
You know, I can ask more questions. We could talk.
Please
still,
feel
but-
free. By all means.
Well, I think in terms of inspiration,
Mhm.
it's been clear, like where you're headed, where you're going. Are there things that you refuse to paint about,
Things that I refuse to.
or choose not? I mean, maybe refuse is a hard word, or, strong word, but are there things that you've been able to take a stand about as an artist to say, like, that's
Yeah.
I don't want to go in that direction.
There's power in saying the word no.
Teach me the ways.
It's saying, this is what I want to do and this is not what I want to do. For instance, don't ask me to paint landscapes. Don't ask me to paint your dog.
Okay.
I'm not doing it.
Got it.
My
Alright.
answer is no. Going forward, now I do have 2 commissions that I'm working on right now. We're going forward. If I ever take another commission and it has nothing to do with Black joy or some kind of pursuit of happiness, or it doesn't fall within my personal mission, then I'd be doing myself a disservice, because that is not where I am.
Mm.
And so to deviate from the path is going to push me behind. I'm not going to get where I'm going.
Right. And
So
we are.
I'm going to say no to certain projects because they don't fit into what I want to do. I've been asked to do projects that sometimes you just don't want to do something. It's no profound reason. Sometimes it's a no because I have a lot of stuff going on already. And rather than overcommit myself and disappoint you, it's better for you to find another person.
Makes
And
sense.
that just, to me, that just comes with maturity.
Right.
That's just being honest with where you currently are.
And really being able to give your best self
Yeah. If I
to
can't give you
yourself
my best,
and to the
then
situation.
Why would I do it?
Yeah.
I want to make sure that people are satisfied with what I'm making. And speaking of being satisfied with what I'm making, I have a rule. If I don't like it, you don't see it.
Oh, okay.
I don't care what it is. I don't care if you've been waiting forever and a day. I'll explain to you why there's a delay and, why I'm not ready to release the work. I'm not going to be rude about it. But if I'm not proud of it, you will not see it.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
That's just,
And that's a level of integrity and standard setting for yourself.
Yeah.
That if you did it any other way would be a disservice to you and to your customers.
exactly.
Speaking of which, you have an amazing array of items on your website. People
Yeah, I
can
got
look
a
at
lot
the
of
art.
stuff.
And I think also I would really encourage people to look at the full bio again if you haven't had a chance, if you joined us late, and see, because I barely scratched the surface of Andre's, like talking about all the wonderful community engagements that you're a part of, the boards, the Artists of Color Accelerate, the programming at 224 at UConn. I mean, his resume is 9 pages long, people. 9 pages over here. It's impressive. And that's just really because it chronicles all of the work and exhibitions as well. But it's impressive, and you as a person and arts leader in our community are somebody that I admire and look up to, and
Thank you.
really proud to have had you on our Response in a Call show. I don't know if I see any other questions coming in or comments. We certainly did cover a lot. Didn't leave much to,
Don't be
but
shy, yo. I like to talk. So.
I know.
You can ask me anything.
I hear you. But I think, we can do some follow-ups. There's always kind of ways to keep reconnecting
Sure.
through the series, through other things in Hartford. We encourage everybody to take a look at your website, take a look at what you're doing. Keep watching Response in a Call for these amazing conversations and figuring out ways that we as a community can navigate our own joy and find those ways to do it together. But, also acknowledging the difficulties in the world that we have to confront and we have to act upon.
We
We
got
We
join
have
the
one
question.
hand raised.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sheila Fisher.
She gonna talk?
We've got you unmuted. Can you try to talk?
I need you to repeat what she's saying. I can't hear her.
Yeah, I think we're having a little trouble hearing you, Sheila. You may, if you type your question into the Q&A, Melissa should be able to.
Yeah, I'll be able to see it. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Technology people, we know. Right? Like it's a godsend in some ways, so we can reconnect with everybody as far away as we can.
It's
but
not perfect.
It's not perfect. Neither are we. And I appreciate everybody staying with us and watching and giving your attention to this amazing arts leader and artist and human being on the couch with me, Andre.
Thank you so much.
I want to say a little shout out to little man and your wife.
Yes. Shout out to my wife, Shawnee Rochester, who is in the Zoom, and to baby Dre, who was born on January 14th of this year,
Ashe.
right in the middle of all the many things that I have going on. My new inspiration and motivation to do all of these cool things that I'm up to.
I'm so happy to be smiling so much, right? Not the response in the call doesn't make me smile, but sometimes, you do have to deal with the heaviness of things. So, it's a comment. Sorry, but yeah, I didn't even finish my thought. I apologize for people because the comments are popping up. And we're getting compliments. So there was another person that said thanks for the inspiration of dialogue with inspiration. Thanks very much for your articulation and joy. Complimenting Andre and I for offering what they feel has been a fascinating and well-presented response in a call.
Thank you.
Oh, Andre, who I did not know before this, is such a thoughtful, talented, and articulate man. Love his art and enjoyed your conversation. Awesome.
It looks like there's
Yeah, there's an actual question too. Do you find other artists attempting to do the same? Oh, thank you so much for your articulation of joy, Andre. Do you find other artists attempting to do the same? For example, Wiley with the triptychs reminded me of your girl blowing bubbles.
So I think that at some point artists have to take a break from certain things and certain themes. And so it's only natural that we bounce around and we do different stuff every now and then. Kehinde Wiley is actually my favorite artist currently. My favorite
Really?
contemporary, yeah. I just love what he does with portraits. Just
Yeah.
phenomenal work, and how he just takes the old master's style and the themes, and he puts people of color into that. I think that he does it beautifully.
Joyfully.
Yes, joyfully. I think that with Kehinde Wiley's work, he's got a really good thing going in terms of his style and the subjects and just the way that he portrays people. I don't think it's necessary for him necessarily to do anything different per se, but he might have some work that we haven't even seen that is on the other side of the spectrum of what he currently paints. His triptychs and diptychs, I mean, that really is something that you make a decision based on the aesthetics of the piece, but also how it tells the story that you're trying to tell. So he may be doing it for a reason that's more based on technique and probably on tradition. But I just love his work. I mean, as far as other artists who are pursuing joy, I think to create art in and of itself is a pursuit of joy. It's a way of expressing yourself. Sometimes you need to get negative emotions out and you put it on the canvas or on the page or on the screen, and you get to exhale. So in doing that and letting go of that thing for that moment, you have given yourself a moment of reprieve and joy. So that's my answer to that question.
And that's a great cherry on top. Let's see. Oh, there's a whole. His social justice initiatives in relation to his paintings are so impressive, including the work now in Africa. Right, we're having like a whole other conversation about Kendi. Anyway, we have to wrap it up, my friends.
Okay.
I know. I know we could go on, but I feel like you putting such a great button on the end there. Just knowing that us using our art, even in the hard times, to talk about hard things, is an expression of joy. Seeking joy and Black joy as a form of resistance is still ringing in my ears, and I think that I'm so glad that we had an opportunity to have this conversation,
Me too. I've been
introduce you
looking
to
forward
our
to this.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, this has been great. I've been really looking forward to this conversation.
I know. We might need to do a part 2 or something. We're gonna
Hey,
get
I'm
on
all for it.
some other live.
We could
moments.
definitely do that.
We'll figure that out.
I love to talk about art. I love to talk with other artists and to really get engaged in discussion, not just about our themes, but just creating in general. Because we have this shared experience. Even though me and you do a different type of artwork, there's this part of creating that we can connect on.
Yeah.
There's that feeling of having made something, right? When you choreograph something,
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that's the same feeling as when I've drawn something out on the canvas and I put the brush down to start making it come alive.
It's beautiful. It's a magical moment that we get to share, and we get to share it with our community that's watching and beyond. And I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you as well.
Yeah. We're gonna sign off. Leave with a hug. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has
All
been
right,
wonderful.
friends at home, thank you so much for watching. This has been Response and a Call, Navigating Black Joy. And I'm so proud of this series. Please keep watching. Please keep supporting us. Have a great night.
Take care.